I have amber drink?
Vala vala, na babanya ngama wala wala, umane na nalala, kuza koko kuza.
The Instagram story appeared at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just a few words on a black background, but the message was terrifying enough to make thousands of people stop scrolling and read it again, hoping they had misunderstood. I killed my girlfriend. There was no context, nor was there an additional explanation. It was simply a confession posted casually to social media, like someone sharing what they had for breakfast. But this wasn't a joke or some dark attempt at going viral. This was real. And by the time people started screenshotting the post and sharing it across Nigerian social media, the man who posted it was already gone, fleeing the country with a bag full of cash and a trail of blood behind him. On July 13, 2023-21, a popular Nigerian influencer known to her 120,000 Instagram followers as Asta XXO was brutally murdered in a luxury apartment in Oral Estate, Aja, Lagos. She was stabbed multiple times, and her body would end up lying undiscovered for 4 agonizing days while her killer put an elaborate escape plan into motion. Her phone sat silent on a table, whilst her mother's constant calls and text messages went unanswered.
When they started dating December 1st, 2021, she told me, "Mommy, I'm into a relationship." Despite many people that asked her out, she didn't accept. Said, "There's somebody I love." I said, "Okay, bring to the house."
And the thousands of followers who had admired her glamorous lifestyle on Instagram had no idea that the influencer they loved was already gone. But who killed Augusta? Why did they confess on social media before running? And what could drive someone to murder a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, then casually post about it online like it was just another status update? This is the story of Augusta Osedion and a relationship that looked perfect on Instagram but was hiding a dark and deadly secret. A story about control, jealousy, and what happens when love turns into obsession. A story that goes across 3 countries and 2 years of desperate searching before justice could finally be served. Augusta Osedion was born and raised in Nigeria, a bright and ambitious young woman who had big dreams for her future. At 21 years old, she was a student at Leeds City University in Ibadan, pursuing her education while simultaneously building an impressive social media presence that had earned her over 120,000 followers on Instagram. Known online as Asta XXO, Augusta had cultivated an image of glamour and aspiration. Her Instagram feed was filled with beautiful photos, fashion content, lifestyle posts, and glimpses into what appeared to be an enviable life. She promoted brands, shared her daily routines, and connected with thousands of young Nigerians who looked up to her as someone who had made it, someone living the dream that social media had promised was possible. But Augusta wasn't just chasing clout or living superficially.
Like people will say, she's this, she's that. No. What you see on social media is her job, and strictly her job. She's a different person completely. Bloggers carried a lot of negative narrative to pass.
Those who knew her personally described her as kind, hardworking, and deeply devoted to her family, particularly her mother, Cordelia Okonye. Despite her growing online fame, Augusta remained close to her roots and maintained strong family connections. She called her mother regularly, shared her concerns and fears, and relied on that maternal bond even as she navigated the complicated world of social media influence and young adult relationships. Around 2022, Augusta began dating Benjamin Nanyerugo Best, who went by the online name Killaboy. Benjamin was 26 years old, 5 years older than Augusta, and he presented himself as a successful cryptocurrency trader and sports betting punter. In Nigeria's booming crypto space, where young people were making and losing fortunes in digital currencies, Benjamin had positioned himself as someone who had figured it out, someone who was winning big. His social media accounts showed a lifestyle that seemed to back up his claims. Photos of expensive cars, particularly a white Mercedes C300 that he would later give to Augusta. Videos of him on private jets, designer clothes, luxury watches, and the kind of flashy displays of wealth that attracted attention and admiration in equal measure. Benjamin must have seemed like an exciting catch to Augusta because he was older, more established in his field, financially successful, and generous with his money. Early in their relationship, Benjamin showered Augusta with extravagant gifts that made her feel special and valued. The Mercedes C300 became hers to drive. He took her on trips, bought her designer items, and made grand romantic gestures that she occasionally shared with her followers. For most of the fans who could only see the mirage the couple wanted them to see, they actually looked like the perfect influencer couple. Beautiful people living beautiful lives, sharing their happiness with the world through carefully curated social media posts. But behind the scenes, a very different reality was taking shape, one that Augusta's mother would later say she had tried to warn her daughter about. According to Cordelia Okonye and friends who knew the couple, Benjamin's generosity came with strings attached. He was possessive and controlling, exhibiting classic signs of an abuser who uses financial dependence and isolation to maintain power over a partner.
On the 11th of July, he impersonated Instagram account, somebody in Instagram account, to chat her up to come see in Lagos. And she said, okay, when I come to Lagos, I'll come see you. Then Benjamin now called me, Mommy, since I've been dating Augusta, she has not cheated on me. But you know she's replying in chat for hookup. I said, well, I didn't train her like that. And if she wants to do like that, I will talk to her, but please, I will talk to her. She's not that kind of a child. Immediately, Augusta called me, Mommy, Benjamin has logged me out of my Instagram account, and that is where I make my money. Tell him to give me my account back, and I'm done with this relationship. So I called Benjamin. Benjamin, release that account back to Augusta. He did, and Augusta called back that yes, he has released the account back to her.
He monitored Augusta's activities, never failed to question who she was talking to, and became jealous when she spent time with friends or posted certain types of content online. Augusta had confided in her mother about Benjamin's behavior, expressing concerns about his temper and the way he treated her when they argued. Cordelia had warned her daughter to be careful, sensing that this relationship was not healthy and could potentially become dangerous. But like many young people in abusive relationships, Augusta likely believed she could manage the situation, that Benjamin's good qualities outweighed his bad ones, or that things would get better with time. The reality was that Benjamin's behavior was tied to the volatility of his income source. Cryptocurrency trading and sports betting are incredibly unpredictable ways to make money. One day you can be up thousands of dollars, the next day you can lose everything. This financial instability, combined with what appears to have been an already volatile personality, created a toxic environment where Benjamin's mood and treatment of Augusta could swing wildly based on whether his investments were performing well. As the relationship progressed through late 2022 and into early 2023, the cracks were harder to hide. Arguments became more frequent, Benjamin's controlling behavior intensified, and Augusta found herself increasingly trapped in a relationship that had started with luxury gifts and romantic gestures, but had devolved into something much darker. Then came July 2023, a month that would end with Augusta dead and Benjamin on the run. On July 13, 2023, Augusta went to Benjamin's residence in Oral Estate, a relatively upscale gated community in the Aja area of Lagos.
I read back to my daughter, Mommy, how are you? How are you doing? I say, Mommy, I don't know. She now forwarded a voice to me. I don't know. Benjamin is like, he's going to deal with me. He will show me. He swear by his mother's grave. But Mommy, not be afraid. Nothing will happen. Soon after that, he called me, Mommy, I'm going to deal with Augusta. I'm not going to kill her. I said, what is killing has to do? He said, I'm going to collect everything I bought for her. I said, well, for the last time I checked, you didn't buy her a car, you didn't buy her a house, you didn't buy her anything. Maybe hair or maybe bag. So it's not a problem. But until she comes. Not knowing the next day, my daughter left for the place.
What happened inside that apartment that day would be a matter of dispute, with Benjamin later claiming self-defense, while evidence suggested something far sinister. According to Benjamin's own confession posted days later on Instagram, an argument erupted between him and Augusta over money that he claimed she had stolen from him. In his telling of events, Augusta had taken money from him without permission, and when he confronted her about it, the situation escalated.
When she got on the 12th, Benjamin killed her immediately after 12 midnight that day. Collected her phone, was chatting me with her phone. Now he will go and copy Augusta. The exact way she used to reply me is how he will copy and paste back to me, making me believe that she was the one chatting me. So on Saturday morning, my son reached out to me early morning. Mommy, I said yes. He said, when did you speak with Augusta last? I said, we chatted yesterday, but I tried calling her, she wasn't picking, and she doesn't do that way. Mommy, go and look for her.
Benjamin claimed that Augusta pulled a knife during the argument and that he stabbed her in self-defense, describing it as an accident that happened in the heat of the moment. But police investigations would later find evidence that would contradict his initial narrative. When forensic teams eventually processed the crime scene, they found evidence of a violent struggle. The furniture was overturned. Blood spatter patterns indicated multiple impacts. Most damning of all, Augusta had defensive wounds on her hands and arms, the kind of injuries that occur when someone desperately tries to protect themselves from an attacker with a knife. The official autopsy confirmed that Augusta died from multiple stab wounds to her chest and abdomen, not a single stab in a moment of panic, multiple deliberate strikes to vital areas of her body. The forensic evidence suggested this was not self-defense, but a brutal, sustained attack. What made the crime even more horrifying were the initial reports from Augusta's family about the state of her body when it was discovered. Cordelia and other family members alleged that Augusta had been mutilated, with claims that her eyes, breasts, and private parts were removed. These allegations spread rapidly across Nigerian social media, adding an extra layer of horror to an already brutal murder. However, official forensic reports did not substantiate these mutilation claims, confirming instead that Augusta died from stab wounds. The confusion may have stemmed from the decomposition of the body, which had lain in the apartment for 4 days in Lagos's hot climate, or from the trauma of family members seeing their loved one in such a horrific state. After killing Augusta, Benjamin did not call the police or even make an attempt to call an ambulance. He did not make a confession to anyone or turn himself in. Instead, he left Augusta's body in his apartment and began executing an escape plan that suggested her murder was premeditated rather than a panicked response to an accidental killing. Benjamin had access to approximately $25,000 in cryptocurrency, digital money that he could move across borders without going through traditional banking systems that might alert authorities. He used this money to begin his disappearance, first by purchasing a fake Sierra Leonean passport dated July 28, 2023, under the name Kanu Princeton Samuel. Meanwhile, Augusta's mother, Cordelia, was becoming increasingly worried. Augusta usually called her regularly, but the calls had stopped. Text messages went unanswered. Days went by with no word from her daughter. Cordelia's maternal instinct told her something was terribly wrong. On July 17, 2023, 4 days after Augusta was killed, Cordelia went to Benjamin's apartment in Oral Estate to look for her daughter. What she found there would haunt her for the rest of her life. Augusta's body lay in the apartment, decomposing in the summer heat. Her daughter, her baby girl, had been dead for days while her killer fled the country.
I'm after my daughter, Lesia. AC was put on in the upstairs, but the door was locked. And the windows upstairs were all open with the AC on. So I called my brother. I said, Trix, I said, I have the feeling my daughter is dead there. He said, no, auntie, don't talk that way. As my brother came down, I said, what did you see? He said, auntie, nothing. I guess maybe they went out with the boy's car.
But before Cordelia made that devastating discovery, something else happened that would eventually help track Benjamin down. On July 17th, the same day Cordelia found Augusta's body, Benjamin posted a confession to his Instagram stories. The post was brief but shocking, but later Benjamin made another series of Instagram stories where he finally revealed the name of his victim and why he did it. He claimed it was an accident during a fight over stolen money. He expressed what seemed to be remorse, saying he hadn't meant for things to go that far, but he offered no indication of where he was or any intention of turning himself in. Instead, more like an attempt to control the narrative, to get his version of events out there before police could investigate and before Augusta's family could tell their side. The Instagram confession was screenshot and shared thousands of times within hours. Nigerian social media erupted with outrage, grief, and demands for justice. The hashtag Justice for Augusta began trending as people shared Augusta's photos, mourned her death, and called for Benjamin to be found and prosecuted. The Lagos State Police officially declared Benjamin wanted on October 10, 2023, nearly 3 months after the murder. By this point, Benjamin had successfully fled Nigeria using his fake passport and was somewhere in West Africa, living under his false identity and using his cryptocurrency funds to stay mobile and hidden. But Benjamin had underestimated one crucial factor in his plan: Augusta's mother's determination to find him. Cordelia Okonye refused to let her daughter's killer disappear. While the Nigerian police worked through official channels, Cordelia became her own investigator, monitoring social media for any sightings of Benjamin, reaching out to contacts across West Africa, and following up on tips from people who recognized him despite his attempt to hide.
He now blocked me off. He wasn't chatting me again since then. So at that point, I know, okay, there's no way to reach him again. So what I did, I sent his passport photographs to all my relatives, all my friends, all my families all over the world. And I told them he has tattoo on his body. That is the way to identify him. So along the line, my cousin in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, my cousin in Sierra Leone on the first hinted me, Auntie, I saw somebody exactly like this. So immediately, my son and another of my cousin, they went to Sierra Leone.
On October 20th, 2023, just 10 days after being officially declared wanted, Benjamin was arrested at a nightclub in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Someone had recognized him, likely from the wanted posters and social media coverage that had made his face known across West Africa. Cordelia had played a key role in the arrest by tracking him through social media tips and alerting Sierra Leonean authorities to his location. The arrest should have been the end of the story. Benjamin was in custody, extradition proceedings could begin, and justice could be served. But this case was about to take another dramatic turn. On November 26, 2023, just over a month after his arrest, Benjamin escaped from custody during a massive prison break at Pedemba Road Prison in Freetown. The break occurred during an attempted coup in Sierra Leone when armed men stormed the prison and freed approximately 1,890 inmates. In the chaos, Benjamin simply walked out along with hundreds of other prisoners. The escape was a devastating blow to Cordelia and to everyone who had been following the case.
We tracked Benjamin as a family to Sierra Leone, and we pushed SP, Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, then Oga Ido, to help us declare him wanted. He was declared wanted on 13th. Now, on Nigeria Interpol, they started working on papers to go bring him. They tried, but they were not proactive enough. They were to go there on November 27th to bring him back. By November 26th, they said there was a prison break, there was a coup attempt, and he left. And I have the video. As he was escaping, they say he escaped. I saw where they were handling his phone, my daughter's phone, his laptop, everything they seized from him were given to him. And the IG since that day, the IG of Sierra Leone stopped replying my calls, stopped picking my calls, stopped replying my messages. And I said, okay, if it's a coup and it's prison break, he will come back. Then after a long 3 days, all the prisoners from Sierra Leone, they brought them back to prison. Only Benjamin was not brought back. Since that day to today, Sierra Leone police didn't declare him wanted, the IG. Now they wrote to Nigeria on 23rd of December that the criminal under their care has also escaped. Nigeria too has not written, they have not made any public statement.
Benjamin was loose again, this time with even more reason to stay hidden and more experience evading capture. For over a year, Benjamin moved through West Africa, reportedly spending time in Ghana, the Ivory Coast, and other countries, always staying one step ahead of authorities.
I'm begging on Nigerians. I'm begging on people globally to come to my aid. I don't have the money. Benjamin saw me less, and that is why he did that. I don't have the connections, but I know people out there will be of help to me. So please, both the presidency, House of Representatives, the Senate should please come to my aid. The women that know what it pains to go through what I'm going through. I hide my pains, yet I still cover these pains to work for God because I told God one thing. You gave this baby to me, and if you have given her to me, you permitted her to be taken, I will still serve you. So I'm still serving God regardless, but I want people to come and help me in this case so that justice will be served.
And funding his fugitive lifestyle with his remaining cryptocurrency. He changed his appearance, used multiple fake identities, and became increasingly careful about his movements. But in February 2025, Benjamin's luck finally ran out when he was recaptured in Doha, Qatar, traveling under yet another fake identity, this time as Tay Abdul with a fraudulent Guinean passport. How exactly he ended up in Qatar remains unclear, but international cooperation between Interpol, Nigerian authorities, and Qatari authorities led to his identification and arrest. On April 19, 2025, nearly 2 years after he killed Augusta, Benjamin was finally extradited back to Nigeria to face murder charges. The extradition involved cooperation from Interpol, the Nigerian Ministry of Justice, and Qatari authorities, representing a significant victory for international law enforcement cooperation. Benjamin was arraigned in Lagos and formally charged with first-degree murder. He was remanded in custody to await trial, with no possibility of bail given the severity of the charges and his proven history of fleeing justice. On January 15, 2026, Benjamin's murder trial finally began at the Lagos State High Court at Tafawa Balewa Square. As of January 17, 2026, the trial is still ongoing with no verdict yet reached. The prosecution's case against Benjamin is strong. They have his Instagram confession, which he cannot easily explain away. They have forensic evidence, including DNA, Benjamin's fingerprints on the murder weapon, and blood spatter analysis that contradicts his self-defense claim. They have CCTV footage showing Benjamin fleeing his apartment complex shortly after Augusta was killed. They have witness testimony from Cordelia about Augusta's fears regarding Benjamin's behavior. And they have the fact that Benjamin fled the country using fake documents, escaped from prison, and spent nearly 2 years as a fugitive, all actions that suggest consciousness of guilt rather than the behavior of someone who accidentally killed in self-defense. Benjamin's defense team has attempted to argue temporary insanity, claiming that Benjamin was not in his right mind during the incident and should not be held fully responsible for his actions. However, this defense faces significant challenges given the evidence of planning in his escape and the calculated nature of his movements after the murder. Under Nigerian law, first-degree murder carries a mandatory death sentence, though Nigeria has had an unofficial moratorium on executions in recent years. If convicted, Benjamin will likely spend the rest of his life in prison, even if the death sentence is not carried out. The case of Augusta Osedion has had a profound impact on Nigerian society, sparking important conversations about domestic violence, femicide, and the particular vulnerabilities that young women face in relationships with financially powerful men. The hashtag #JusticeForAusta became a rallying cry not just for Augusta's case specifically, but for all women who have been victims of intimate partner violence. Augusta's mother, Cordelia, has become an advocate for victims of domestic violence, using her platform to raise awareness and push for reforms in how Nigerian police handle domestic violence cases. She has spoken about the warning signs she saw in Benjamin's behavior, the concerns Augusta shared with her, and the importance of listening when loved ones express fear about their relationships. Augusta's death was preventable. If we can learn from her story and use it to protect others, then perhaps some good can come from this tragedy. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.